Let's talk about SmackDown on March 6th because the show opens with The Undertaker cutting a promo, and it's different than the way we've heard The Undertaker in quite a while. Meltzer had this to say. Show opened with Undertaker coming out and cutting a serious non zombie promo about Michaels and WrestleMania. I'm told that Bruce Pritchard was the guy who always insisted on a supernatural base to the Undertaker promos, and with him gone, things have changed. They showed a WrestleMania video package for Shawn Michaels, which was quite great. And The Undertaker said many men had tried to make their name at his expense at previous WrestleManias. All had fallen, and Shawn would be no different. He told Shawn he'd better start praying. I like the promo, but it is a departure from what we had been seeing from The Undertaker for most of his career. What do you think of this assessment that that was a Bruce thing, that the Undertaker character needed to be more rooted in supernatural, if you will?
I thought there had to be a happy medium there someplace. Bruce was always a big proponent of the supernatural stuff. I liked it up to a certain point. When it got to an eyebrow raising or eyeball rolling scenario, then you lose me on that one. But I thought it made Undertaker more real, more human, and I didn't see anything wrong with that. If you're strictly hanging your hat and living and dying on the supernatural, it would not be your cup of tea. But no matter how you want to frame the presentation, the match delivered in an amazing way, no matter what. It was just absolutely tremendous.
On Monday Night Raw, we would see the Triple H versus DiBiase Cody Rhodes match not really happen because they're playing his music over and over and there's no Triple H. We cut to Randy Orton's house where he's supposedly watching the show and he's talking trash about Triple H. And all of a sudden, someone knocks at the door and he tells, quote unquote, Samantha to go answer the door. And by then, we figure out it's Triple H. He's at Randy Orton's house with a sledgehammer. He's going to terrorize the house and chase him around. I mean, it feels like a movie. Every now and again, we see stuff like this in wrestling and it really works. Other times, we sort of roll our eyes, like you alluded to. You see Randy getting thrown through the front window of his house there. What did you think of this? Was this good or was this maybe a stretch?
It might have been a little bit of a stretch. I thought that it reminded me of Austin, uh, his attack on the Brian Pillman home back in the day.
Yes.
Kind of similar scenario, but I didn't hate the idea. It was a little bit close to what we'd already seen,
Yes.
and it married those two guys together very well. I mean, they had great chemistry, and I was looking forward to that match. I thought that it had the potential to be really, really outstanding, and it was. But it was well done. You know, for Randy to go to St. Louis and do the damage to Randy's home and scare his family and so forth. It showed how serious Triple H was about this whole scenario, and it built more anticipation for their upcoming match. So it was well done in that regard. But I just thought in general, it was a little bit too close to Austin and Pillman.
We do see eventually the difference being between the two. The police are going to carry Triple H away. So that's pretty it's a pretty cool angle. I know it got a lot of people talking, but I agree with you. It doesn't feel as iconic to me as the first time we saw it with Pillman and Austin. Let's talk a little bit about some sad news. Andrew Martin, who we knew as Test, is going to pass away on March 12th, 2009. He's only 33 years old. It's just 5 days before his 34th birthday. He had such a great look, and it looked like his future was going to be really, really bright with the WWE. Clearly, addiction got the better of him. What can you tell us about the real life Andrew Martin?
He couldn't whip his biggest opponent, drug addiction. He couldn't win. He didn't win, and it killed him. That's about as abrupt of ending as you could ask for. I must tell you that when I heard that he had passed away, I wasn't shocked because he according to the talents, he became very dependent on painkillers, muscle relaxers, downers in general, and that stuff. The boys forget that shit's a depressant. So if you have depression issues and you're in the pill bottle too much, you're digging your own grave. And so I felt bad about that. Andrew Andrew got swept up in the hype, and you know he was living his dream, but it was just sad. It became a nightmare. It wasn't a dream anymore. So I felt bad about that. We never tapped into what he really could have done. I mean, he could have been a bigger star than most people ever dreamed he could have become, but we never got to see that. It ended too quickly.
Let's talk about Raw as we get closer to WrestleMania. The show's going to open with Ric Flair in the ring and Jericho walking through the backstage doing a tremendous promo. Jericho's going to come to the ring. He's running down Flair. Flair's doing his usual stuff, and he starts making this comeback. Flair punches him out of nowhere. Flair juices right away from a hard way to the eye. You could see Flair checking to see if the punch got the job done. And even though blading is prohibited and you aren't supposed to bleed, there was no question that they set out to bleed. Jericho kept on him, tearing his shirt up. He hit Flair with the TV monitor, opened up a second cut in the back of Flair's head. Flair needed 11 staples after the show to close the second cut. It was kind of illogical at certain points because it went so long and nobody was there to make the save. Also, they were brawling right in front of Lawler. And Lawler has a pet peeve that when a babyface is getting destroyed right in front of him, he thinks it makes him look stupid to just stand there and do nothing. What'd you think of this angle and the blood? And my goodness, 11 staples.
That's a lot. I had 28 staples in my hip, Conrad. Just keeping a score here at home.
Wow.
I didn't even know I had staples in my hip. I had poor communication with my surgeon, which he and I thoroughly discussed face to face this past Monday. I said, this is not how you run a medical practice. And I've never been a doctor, or have I ever played one on television, but goddamn, you think you'd at least tell me I had staples in my hip. So in any event, that's water under the bridge. I would have said Lawler had a legitimate argument because he was a babyface, a beloved babyface, and he did nothing to try to intervene. And I thought that was wrong. And I know Jerry was very uncomfortable with that over the years. But there you go. He's a babyface. He's out there. He's got to work around it as best he can. But I probably, in hindsight, Lawler would have got out of his chair. He'd gone over to try to intervene and break up the situation. And that's where the cheap shot would have come from Jericho. Lawler down selling. He's already done the damage to Flair, and you move on. But that never happened. But in hindsight, it would not have been a bad idea.
We should talk about the main event here.
Hey, can you imagine how many dollars Flair's? Sorry, Conrad. I just popped in my head that torn shirt. You know that Flair didn't wear cheap shirts,
right?
I wonder how much money he's invested over the years in his attire that got destroyed in an angle. Got to be thousands of dollars.
Maybe most famously that yellow robe that Blackjack tore up in Crockett way back when, or Mid-Atlantic way back when. I mean, that was, he would say, still to this day, it was his favorite robe ever. And it was about the robe and the hat. And there was a huge feud that was discussed at length. If you want to catch up more about it, if this isn't familiar to you, at midatlanticgateway.com, our buddy Dick Bourne broke it down. Pretty classic angle, but I mean, I think even back then those robes were several $1,000s.
Yeah.
And that's before he was, making the really big money that he would make later in his career. So yeah, I'm with you. It's got to be tens of thousands of dollars in torn wardrobes over the years.
Lots of money, but nobody can ever blame Nate for not going the entire distance to make an angle work.
No doubt about that.
So he did, and it wasn't cheap.